The blue arrows on the model relative rotation graph on this screen show the idealized rotation, which is clockwise. Let's assume a sector is currently in the leading quadrant, green, and follow the idealized rotation. Remember, RS momentum is the leading indicator here and it will be the first to turn. From the leading quadrant, relative momentum will start to level off and RS momentum will move below 100, which will cause the sector to move into the lower right-hand quadrant, weakening. Extended weakness in relative momentum will ultimately affect the trend in relative performance, and RS ratio will also move below 100, which would put the sector into the lagging quadrant, red. Once in the lagging quadrant, the first sign of strength will be an improvement in relative momentum. When RS momentum crosses above 100, the sector will move into the improving quadrant, blue. A sector in this quadrant still has a downtrend in relative performance, but RS momentum is improving and this could foreshadow a move into the leading quadrant, green. Extended strength in relative momentum will ultimately affect the trend in relative performance and RS ratio will move above 100. This will push the sector into the leading quadrant, green, and the cycle will start over again. Rotation comes alive with the historical trails. The chart on the screen shows the 9 sectors with 12-week trails. We can see each sector rotating from one quadrant to another. Each point marks 1 week, and the solid point with the symbol marks the most recent point. At the top, XLF moved from improving to leading. At the bottom, XLU moved from weakening to lagging. The blue line shows XLP moving from weakening to lagging, and then from lagging to improving. The improving quadrant means RS momentum moved above 100, but RS ratio remains below 100. XLY moved into the leading quadrant when both RS ratio and RS momentum were above 100. Chartists can also glean information from the length of the trails and the thickness of the trail lines. All trail lines extend 12 weeks on this chart, but some are longer than others. The red XLU trail is the longest, meaning it has the biggest move and shows the most volatility. The green XLY line in the upper right is the shortest, which means it has the smallest move and is the least volatile. The thickness of the lines depends on the distance from the benchmark, which is the crosshair on the RRG. The crosshair is also known as the origin, where the x-axis, RS ratio, crosses the y-axis, RS momentum. Thicker lines will be further from the benchmark, and thinner lines will be closer to the benchmark. The further a security is from the benchmark, the bigger the move in relative performance, up or down. The closer a security is to the benchmark, the smaller the move in relative performance, up or down. In other words, the thicker lines represent bigger moves and the thinner lines represent smaller moves. Users can change the trail length using the slider next to the relative rotation graph. Chartists are encouraged to experiment with the trail length and the number of symbols on the graph. In general, chartists should shorten the trail length when there are a lot of symbols on the graph. This will help declutter and make the analysis easier. Longer trails are fine when just a few symbols are shown on the graph.